There's a lot wrong here with this. This is a man who saw what happens when someone is out of control with their guns.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like what they saw. Just like you talk about people taking care of each other in small towns. We do the same thing in big towns.
Hold on to your seats because we've got some entertainment scoop that's making waves. Whoopi Goldberg is in the spotlight again, and this time it's all about her comments on Jason Aldean's music video. According to Whoopi, the music video of Jason seems to portray clashes between Black Lives Matter protesters and the police during the 2020 turmoil. And hold on to your seats because Jason isn't taking things lightly, and he's considering legal action against Whoopi. But here's the twist. This isn't Whoopi's first rodeo with controversy. She's faced flak and lawsuits before, all thanks to her outspoken comments. And guess what? A bunch of A-listers are stepping into the ring to voice their thoughts on the fearless firebrand herself. So stick around. Today we're diving into the VIP list of these celebs and uncovering the candid views they have on the one and only Whoopi. Trust me, by the end of this roller coaster ride, you'll be armed with juicy insights that you never saw coming. Well, it all started when Aldean dropped a song back in May, and things were relatively calm. But then came the music video hitting the YouTube scene on July 14th, and suddenly, all bets were off. The video is like a patchwork quilt of different scenes, protests, riots, and those intense face-offs between protesters and police in various cities. It was like a snapshot of the energy and tension during the 2020 Black Lives Matter demonstrations. But here's the twist. It also includes snippets of a Fox 5 Atlanta news segment showing violence during these protests. There were even moments of attempted robbery and other criminal activity thrown into the mix. And these intense clips were alternating with shots of none other than Jason Aldean and his band performing right in the heart of Columbia, Tennessee, a town that holds some dark historical memories involving violence against black individuals. But wait, there's more. The YouTube video wasn't set in stone. It underwent a sneaky edit. A news clip featuring the violence during the Atlanta Black Lives Matter demonstrations got the snip. That part of the clip had been projected onto a wall of a Tennessee county courthouse, a place with a haunting history where a black teenager was lynched in the 1920s. And guess what? Aldean had been singing against precisely the kind of crimes that wouldn't be tolerated in a small town. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Whoopi Goldberg jumped right into the conversation. She honed in on the imagery that Aldean had chosen for his music video. Specifically, she pointed out the confrontations between Black Lives Matter protesters and the police during the 2020 protests. And she questioned the choice, the motives, and the impact of these scenes in his message. It never occurred to Jason or the writers that that's what these folks were doing. They were taking care of the people in their town because they didn't like what they saw. Goldberg, a seasoned voice in the entertainment world, put it straight.
He's talking about people taking care of each other, and I find it so interesting that it never occurred to Jason or the writers that that's what these folks were doing. They were taking care of the people in their town.
But the discussion didn't stop there. Sunny Hostin, another panelist in the conversation, shared her own personal connection to the theme. Her parents had lived through the racism of their time, having faced hostility due to their interracial relationship. She saw this situation as more than just a coincidence. To her, Aldean's choices of imagery were highly conscious, carrying historical weight and emotional significance.
It is one of the most racist places in this country. So don't tell me that he knew nothing about what that imagery meant.
I didn't say he did.
However, there's always another side to the coin. Joy Behar, another host, stepped in to defend Aldean's rights to artistic expression, asserting that it's essential to have these discussions without forgetting the value of creative freedom. And Aldean? Well, he didn't shy away from the conversation either. He took to Twitter to address the allegations, stating that he had been accused of releasing a pro-lynching song, an allegation he firmly denied. He emphasized that his song and video didn't include any racial references and that the video clips were authentic news footage. But that wasn't the end of it. The controversy surrounding Aldean's video even led to its removal from rotation on CMT due to claims of it being racially insensitive. And Jason Aldean, the country music sensation, isn't letting things slide. Just recently, he made it clear that he's not taking Whoopi Goldberg's remarks lightly. In fact, he's going beyond words. He's planning to take legal action against her because he believes her claims were off base and untrue. And you know what? This isn't the first rodeo for Whoopi when it comes to facing the aftermath of her remarks. Now, let's shift our focus to a different scene from the past. There was a whole situation brewing over at ABC, and it made waves, especially on the show The View. Whoopi Goldberg, the iconic actress and host, found herself in quite the pickle. She made comments that stirred up a storm. She argued that the Holocaust wasn't about race, a statement that left her colleagues at the table flabbergasted. The public was watching, and it didn't take long for the backlash to roll in. ABC News president Kim Godwin stepped in, announcing that even though Goldberg offered public apologies on Twitter during an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and on Tuesday's The View, the network had decided to suspend her for 2 weeks. The reason? To give her time to really think about the impact of her words. Goldberg wasn't one just to let it slide. She hit the Twitter scene with a statement of her own, quickly clarifying her stance. She admitted that her earlier comment hadn't hit the mark. She should have said that the Holocaust was about both race and man's inhumanity. She referred to the Anti-Defamation League's Jonathan Greenblatt, who pointed out that the Holocaust was indeed about the systematic annihilation of the Jewish people by the Nazis. She owned her mistake and corrected herself. The situation took on a life of its own. Celebrities weren't staying silent. Deborah Messing, the talented actress, voiced her feelings. She expressed that Goldberg's minimization of the Holocaust's horrors hurt her and offended her deeply. And she pointed out that the Holocaust was, in fact, about race, as it targeted the Jewish people. Then there was Michael Rapaport, who turned to Twitter to demand answers from Goldberg. He didn't hold back, stating outright that the Holocaust was entirely about race. He called on Goldberg to explain herself and to acknowledge this historic truth.
The Holocaust wasn't about race. Yes, it fucking was all and only about race.
Even Piers Morgan defended Sharon Osbourne, who had her own share of controversies. Piers pointed out the seeming double standards in the industry. He highlighted that Sharon was let go from the talk for defending herself against a false charge of racism, while Goldberg's comment on the Holocaust didn't seem to carry the same consequences. But that wasn't all. Meghan McCain, a former co-host of The View, lent her voice to the discussion. She highlighted the growing anti-Semitism in the world and expressed her deep concern about the hurtful words that were said. But it didn't stop there. In the year 2022, the legal battles involving Whoopi Goldberg continued to make headlines. But this time the spotlight shifted to Kyle Rittenhouse, who had some serious plans up his sleeve. You see, Kyle Rittenhouse found himself at the center of a legal storm after the events that transpired at a Black Lives Matter protest back in 2020. He had been accused of shooting 2 people to death and injuring another. The situation was dire, and the controversy was palpable. In the midst of it all, Whoopi Goldberg, a prominent figure, didn't mince her words. She called Rittenhouse a murderer. Now fast forward to a moment when Rittenhouse, a teenager at the time of the incidents, found himself acquitted of all charges. His defense argued that he had acted in self-defense, claiming that he had traveled a considerable distance to the unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and armed himself with an AR-15 rifle. Appearing on Tucker Carlson's show on Fox News, Rittenhouse revealed a plan that would set the wheels in motion for a new chapter: the Media Accountability Project. What's all that about, you ask? Well, Rittenhouse and his team were determined to hold the media accountable for what they saw as misleading and inaccurate reporting. They aimed to fundraise for this cause and shine a light on the lies they believed had been spread. In his own words, Rittenhouse declared, "We're going to be holding them accountable, Tucker." The 19-year-old expressed his desire to ensure that no one else would have to endure the kind of experience he had gone through. It was a mission that he felt strongly about. Rittenhouse didn't shy away from naming names. He singled out Whoopi Goldberg, host of The View, and Cenk Uygur, the host of Young Turks, a socio-political news program with a left-wing perspective. He was determined to address those who, in his eyes, had wrongly labeled him a white supremacist. He aimed to take them to court and present his side of the story. But Rittenhouse's list didn't stop there. He hinted at a roster of other individuals, celebrities, politicians, and even athletes, who he believed should be held accountable through legal action. Tucker Carlson, the right-wing commentator, played a pivotal role in Rittenhouse's journey. He was the first television host to interview Rittenhouse after his widely publicized trial. In fact, Carlson went a step further and crafted a documentary that aimed to shed light on the teenager's perspective. Yet Rittenhouse's story was a complex one. He found himself labeled as a white supremacist after images emerged of him at a bar alongside members of the far-right neo-fascist group, the Proud Boys. The images showed him flashing a hand gesture that had been co-opted by the white power movement. Rittenhouse attributed this incident to a former lawyer, claiming that the photo opportunity had been set up. So what's your take on what Whoopi said? Do you believe she should be facing all these lawsuits and negative reactions? Share your thoughts in the comments below. While we're waiting for more news, be sure to check out our next video, where we'll uncover even more surprising information. Stay tuned.